Internet, Fast X is out this weekend. I was lucky enough to see it early at the world premiere in Rome, so I want to rank all of the Fast saga in preparation for the movie. This will be discussing the highs and lows of the franchise, but I promise no spoilers for Fast X, and I am including Hobbs & Shaw in this list. It is part of the Fast franchise, so it goes in there. So, without further ado, let's start at the bottom and go to the top. The lowest of the 11 for me is Fast 9. For me, Fast 9 left behind some of the things that made the franchise so endearing and so special. It didn't feel as much about family. It felt like a superhero movie, and it left behind the somehow Looney Tunesy physics for even more absurd things, and the movie just didn't quite stick to landing for me. So the bottom of the 11 in my beloved Fast franchise is Fast 9. Coming in at number 10 is Fast and Furious. That is the fourth film. I consider there to be a pretty big gap between, honestly, Fast 9 and Fast and Furious. I do consider Fast and Furious a much better movie than a lot of people give it credit for. It's a great noir. I think it has a great villain. I really dug Laz Alonso. There's a lot more going on with this vengeance, revenge, almost 70s car movie thriller than people give it credit for. So number 10 is a bit better than number 11 for me, and that is Fast and Furious. Coming in at number 8 is a fun one, but one that couldn't be any higher because frankly the rest are better. It is Too Fast, Too Furious. This is the most insane, maybe, of the franchise because they all get crazy, but this one is just so out of nowhere. I love the street racing. I love the setting in Miami. I love a lot of the dialogue. It's the most quotable of them, but I do find that it's not one I rewatch, and it's one that I think I enjoyed for when I watched it at the time. Just the quality feels like a different series of movie, but pockets ain't empty, cuz. Coming in at number 8, and this is where they start, in my opinion, to get very good, and it was hard to rank these top 8, is Tokyo Drift. It has maybe my favorite song. The Wiz Khalifa song's up there, but maybe my favorite song is Fast and Furious. And I really, really like that it was bold. I like that they didn't like how 2 landed, and then they pivoted. They made it a totally different franchise. They made it about the setting. A lot like Miami, this was about Tokyo, and you have a whole new cast of characters. The only way it ties in was in the post-credit with Vin Diesel, the way they brought it all back into the franchise, but the whole movie itself pretty much sustains itself. We get Han, and he survives death because he's so charismatic and cool, and it's a very different style of racing, obviously, and drifting really liked the leap this took, and a lot of franchises couldn't survive such a pivot. All right, coming in at number 7 is one that I think a lot of people might have lower, but I got more out of than many, I think. That is Fate of the Furious. This is by no means in the top 5. This is by no means one of the better Fast movies. It's in the lower half for a reason, but I do think the prison break sequence, a lot of the stuff with Hobbs and Shaw that led to the movie Hobbs and Shaw, a lot of the badassery of Hobbs is at play here. It does feel like the family's more cohesive. Again, it's in the lower half of the films. This and Tokyo Drift almost swapped. I really almost put Tokyo here, but I do think there's some elements that are really important in the franchise, and I do think it is, while not as good, some of the most insane action while still feeling like a Fast movie. There's some sequences in here that feel like the franchise, but also put it up to the 11 that I think 9 tried to do. This succeeded where 9 failed, I think, for the most part. All right, and that brings us to our spin-off. Coming in at number 6 is Hobbs and Shaw. Hobbs and Shaw is such a good time. Hobbs and Shaw is so ridiculous. Hobbs and Shaw is the buddy cop movie I didn't know I wanted, with 2 characters that I didn't know I needed in the franchise. What they bring to this movie, the Jason Statham, Dwayne Johnson relationship and chemistry is insane. And then you've got Idris Elba finally playing Superman. You've got actual superheroes in here. And again, it does what 9 tried to do, but it succeeds. I love the chases. I love that final action set piece with the cars. I love that it's about family, and it expands the family. It's not just about our car family, but it's about family. Not only Decker Shaw's, but also The Rock's entire family. Well, not The Rock, but the Carafobs. I loved what this movie was, and it was such a good time in theaters. I think this one's a little slept on, a little underrated. Hobbs and Shaw. All right, we are into our top 5 of 11. My top 5 is, in fact, Fast 10. This movie exceeded my expectations, I think because they were lowered a bit with 9. It is absolutely absurd, but it's absurd in the right way. It leans into the preposterousness. It leans into the fact that is the 10th movie in a series. It has maybe my favorite, I'm going to say it's my favorite villain in the franchise, in Jason Momoa. He's playing the Joker. He's playing this absolute force of chaos, and he's having such a good time doing it. And then you've got our giant cast of characters all having to keep up with a lot of moving parts. You've got a lot of dense, insane action, but the heart's back. It feels like the family. Now, it's not in the top 4. There's a reason it's number 5. Some things are disjointed. Some things are a little too absurd. But overall, it's how do you escalate to 10 films? This is how you do it. And it really impressed me with the joy. I had so much fun. I was so impassioned. I was so gleefully with my family again. All right, number 4, this is Fast and Furious 6. This is a hard thing to follow up Fast 5. This is a movie that has some insane aerial stunts. This is when they start to fully leave reality. This is still, though, the magic of the Brian O'Connor, Dominic Toretto relationship. This is them going to insane locales. This is still feeling like a Bond film in its own way. This is, utilizing the tank scene in that incredible chase. This is so many moments where the soap opera elements that really work in this franchise come to play. People back from the dead, all these warring parts, this evil Fast family. They're like fighting another version of themselves, which is very soap opera comic booky. There's a lot working in Fast 6. All right, we're into our top 3, and this brings me to the rough one in the franchise, just emotionally. It's the hardest one to rewatch, but it's one of the best. I think Furious 7 is so special. What they were able to do, what they were able to recover, what they were able to accomplish in this movie is so special. Losing, your lead actor that you've been with for 7 films is impossible. And the connection we all felt to Paul Walker and the way they navigated that is so special. And I love that his brothers got to honor him, and I love that the franchise got to honor him, and I love that he got to drive off into the sunset, literally, and the metaphor got to land. I love the song and what it makes me feel when I think about it. I love that I did grow up with these movies. I love that when I watched the first one, I wore Converse and Vans for years because of Brian O'Connor, and I feel like this was a beautiful way to honor him, and the movie itself is a blast. The movie itself is so much good action and family and drinking game, every time I say family in this. But it's a really special bit of blockbuster art, and I really appreciate that movie. All right, number 2, we've got the first Fast and the Furious. Honestly, it's very close to my number 1. A lot of people don't put this one as high. The first Fast and the Furious is everything. It's Point Break with cars, and it somehow works in a way that doesn't feel like a remake. It doesn't feel like a cheap way to tell a new franchise. There's a reason there's 10 of these. This first one, this started with DVD VCR combos. The action is incredible. The early special effects hold up pretty decent, like you can tell, but the way they use them is genius. The directing is so dynamic. The street races are so interesting. All the cast of characters are people you care about. You care about Noel G playing Hector. You care about the bad guy's family. You're invested in the way the dynamic works in East LA. You're invested in this rivalry. You're invested in race wars. You're invested in Jesse. You care about Jesse. The soundtrack's amazing. It started the tradition of the best soundtracks in a franchise. This is a 10-film franchise. All the soundtracks slap. Like more than half the songs on 10 albums. Amazing. Statistically improbable. And it started here. This franchise, the Supra, the 10-second car, the doesn't matter whether you win by an inch or a mile, winning is winning, live my life quarter mile at a time, any beer you want as long as there's Corona. It is so good and quotable and passionate, and it gets the tone. It knows exactly what it is. Most blockbusters don't know what they are. This movie knows exactly what it is. The Fast and the Furious is almost my number 1, if not 4. Number 1, Fast 5. This is franchise Viagra. This is a franchise that has survived going from the first movie, which feels like a pseudo takes itself seriously but knows what it is cheeky, to a very, very over-the-top sequel that feels like a sequel. It's big, it's bold, it's too fast, too furious, and the title introduces a lot of new characters. I love Luda introducing the second one, but the second one falls apart a bit. The third one, they just abandon the whole ship. They go to Tokyo, they have a new cast of characters, they then decide to tie it into Vin, and then 4 is the least loved of them until 9. But it's a different genre. It's, figuring out the Letty stuff. It's noir. It's very different. And I don't think it did as well, if memory serves. So they're in a position of, okay, we've got this 5th film. Let's make it something brand new. Let's go heist with it. Let's bring in The Rock. Let's introduce even more characters. Let's set it in a place where that character of the city is as much a part as it was in the first one, the second one, the third one. I do feel like the franchise does well when the heart of the characters is also in the heart of the city they're racing in. And the 5th one, I really love the way everything feels dynamic and important but fun. It's wicked quotable. The Rock is just in there with one-liners. It feels like the 80s with the one-liners. It's such a good fucking time. I love Fast 5, and I honestly, 1, 5, and 10 are this great trilogy in themselves. Go check out 10. Again, I didn't leave any spoilers here for a reason. 10 is a damn good time at the movies. It reminds me of the things I like about this franchise. And it's got a lot of love for Rome. It's got a lot of love for Rio. It's got some love for LA. And it's back. The franchise feels back. So, a lot of love for Fast 10. I'm hoping Vin's right and we get 3 of these. because we could tie in Triple X and Fast 10, Fast SXX, and you can play Xander Cage and also Tourette. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? But I love this franchise, and I'm so excited that X feels like we're back at the barbecue with the family with a Corona. So that is my ranking. It is number 1, Fast 5. Number 2, The Fast and the Furious, the first one. Number 3, Furious 7. Number 4, Furious 6. Number 5, Fast X. Number 6, Hobbs and Shaw. Number 7, Fast 8. Number 8 is Tokyo Drift. Number 9 is Too Fast. Number 10 is Fast 4. And number 11 is The Fast and the Furious 9. All right, that is going to do it, you lovelies. If you like this ranking, please do subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment. Let me know what your list is. Rank them for me. I want to know what you experienced. I want to know what you thought of Fast 10 when you go see it. I want to hear your thoughts on this franchise I love so much. Fast X is playing this weekend at your theater. Go check it out. It's definitely a theater movie. Have a good time. Enjoy the Momoa chaos. It's wonderful. And John Cena crushes it. And Jack Reacher, that guy. Alan Richardson's amazing, and Brie Larson steals like every scene she's in. Brie Larson is a force in this. I loved her. Go see Fast X. All right, bye guys.